Do you feel the changing of the weather? Do you hear the music in the air? Do you see all the smiling faces? Do you know what everybody everywhere knows when they say, oh, so, so wonderful. Oh, everybody knows. Oh, so, so wonderful. Everybody knows Christmas time. Feel the love. Hey. Giving and receiving. Giving and receiving. Hear the signs. Holy night. Jesus, we have put on high. Joy to the world. The Lord is good. See the choir swaying to the rhythm. They don't know it's the most wonderful time of the year. Yeah. When they say, oh, so, so wonderful. Oh, everybody knows. Oh, so, so wonderful. Everybody knows it's Christmas. Oh, so, so wonderful. Oh, everybody knows. Oh, so, so wonderful. Everybody knows it's Christmas light up the Christmas tree and start the celebration. Everybody knows it's Christmas time. Whoa, 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 it's so, so wonderful. Everybody knows it's Christmas. Oh, everybody knows. Whoa, whoa. Everybody knows it's Christmas. Whoa, everybody knows. Whoa, whoa, it's so, so wonderful. Everybody knows it's Listen, more than a feeling, more than a season, a chance for season the moments you've been given for a reason. Greatest present you can give is you, and you alone. Everybody knows. What in the world is going on when people try to take and remove the Christ right out of Christmas time? It's a life that is real, that and nothing more. 110,000 everybody there, everybody everywhere gonna share. More than ever, it's a time to love and a time to care. Everybody needs to know what you know. Everybody knows it's Christmas time.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks, Jen. I do hope one of the things we can rule out tonight as we kind of celebrate this good time of year is the confusion between God, if there is a God, and I think there is, and Santa. The confusion being that most of you, like me, will have grown up with the impression that God's the same as Santa because he has a list and he's checking it twice. And he's going to find out who's naughty or nice. And that then the giftedness, the goodness, the givingness is dictated and motivated by the checking of a list of whether you're naughty or nice. That's not very good news. And it's the kind of news that terrifies children when you tell children Santa's got this list and he's checking it, going to see if you're naughty or nice. And it terrifies people when you say God's got a list and he's checking it twice, as he's going to find out as naughty or nice, because then we become bound not in the joy of a gift, but we become bound by the pressure and the guilt of an obligation. And that's not good news. But you see, Christmas is about good news. It's about somebody, someone, something coming into our world, our environment, our existence to say, hey, peace and goodwill, goodness to all men, to all people. And that's the promise for you tonight. So we're glad you're here because we've got that good news that's part of the Christmas story of the coming into our world, coming into our existence. And that's why it was said that they should call him, this was the Hebrew thing, call him Emmanuel, which we're told means God with us, but actually it's more applicable than that. It means with us God. Now, the reason that I clarify that is because I want you tonight to enjoy this celebration of Christmas, knowing that whatever you thought about the divine, he is a with us God, he's a with you God, and it's good news, and he don't have a list, and he's not checking it twice, and he's not trying to see if you're naughty or nice, but there's good news in town tonight, and it's called Christmas, so enjoy.
It's time again for the holidays. Pain and sorrow miles away. But in my spirit, I got I'll hold you in the beginning, and you will hold me in the end, and every moment in the middle. Make my heart your Bethlehem, be born in me. I am not brave, I'll never be. The only thing my heart can offer is a vacancy. I'm just a girl, nothing more. I am willing, I am I'll hold you in the beginning, and you will hold me in the end, and every moment in the middle. Make my heart your Bethlehem, be born in me.
Your voices, one night divine, one night when Christ was born.
evening. So, before we carry on, I just thought it's appropriate that we just make sure that we ensure that tonight's festivities don't get lost. We do need to have some efficiencies too. So we just need to make sure that if anybody at all is planning to dash through the snow in a one-horse open sleigh, or indeed going over the fields and laughing all the way, they are required to have a risk assessment. So if you could come down and see Amy, just to make sure that we can go through that would be great. This assessment must also consider whether it is actually needed. One horse is appropriate for such a venture, particularly as it's going to be more than one passenger. So let's just make sure that we stay safe, okay? We also need to make sure that we do get permission from landowners in writing before any fields are entered. And also, just to avoid, there's an awful lot of people offended at the moment, and we need to make sure that we don't extend that offence. So we do request that laughter's kept to moderate, okay? We don't want it loud enough to be considered a noise nuisance. Now, benches, stools, orthopaedic chairs are available for collection by any shepherds here at all who are planning to watch their flocks at night. And also, while provision has been made for remote monitoring of our flocks by CCTV cameras from a centrally heated shepherd observation hut, can I just remind all facility users that you do still need an emergency response plan just to submit to account, just in case there's any risks that we need to be aware of with the flocks. Angel of the Lord, is the angel of the Lord here? The angel of the Lord is reminded that prior to shining his or indeed her glory all around, he or indeed she must confirm that all shepherds are wearing appropriate personal protective equipment. We don't, there's a lot of harmful UVA, UVB, and the overwhelming effects of glory. So we just need to stay safe, okay? Need to stay safe. Now, following last year's publicised case, which I know you all remember, everyone is advised that EC legislation prohibits any comment with regard to the redness of any part of Mr. R. Reindeer. Further to this, exclusion of Mr. R. Reindeer from reindeer games will be considered discriminatory, and disciplinary reaction will be taken against those found guilty of that offence. Now, we did talk last week about gift giving, and while it is acknowledged that gift bearing is commonly practiced in various parts of the world, everyone here is reminded that the bearing of gifts is subject to hospitality guidelines. All gifts must be registered. This applies regardless of the individual, even royal personages. It's particularly noted that direct gifts of currency or indeed gold are specifically precluded under provisions of Foreign Corrupt Practices Act. And furthermore, caution is advised regarding any other common gifts such as aromatic resins. They might initiate allergic reactions. We do need to be careful. Finally, in the recent case of an infant found tucked up in a manger without any crib for a bed, social services have been advised, and they'll be arriving shortly. So we do advise everyone to ensure full compliance of these guidelines in order for you to fully participate with the festive spirit. Thank you. Let the risk-free proceedings commence.
Jesus, Jesus, oh, wonderful child. Jesus, Jesus, so lovely, divine, delight, new hope, new joy he brings. Won't you listen to the angels sing? Glory, glory, glory to the newborn King. Jesus, Oh, Jesus, Jesus. Oh, what a wonderful child. Jesus, Jesus. So lonely, we cannot. We like, we hope, we joy, we praise. Won't you listen to the angels sing? Glory, glory, glory to the newborn King. Jesus, 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 Jesus. Glory, glory, glory to the unto us a child is born. Unto us a son is given.
And the government shall be upon his shoulders. Yet his name shall be called Wonderful Counselor, Almighty God, the everlasting Father, Prince of
Good afternoon, everybody. Merry Christmas. For those of you who don't know me, my name's Danny. It's great to see so many guests and all of you here tonight. We're going to do a song which we wrote for our kids tonight, but all of you, we would love to be involved. Now, this song is called Light of the World. And 2,000 years ago, somebody who's probably the most famous person that's ever lived, although the Beatles would probably dispute it, but 2,000 years ago, someone was born and they claimed they were the light of the world. It's a strange phrase, isn't it? The light of the world. Light does a whole loads of things. It shows up things as they really are. Maybe it reveals things as they really are. Has anybody ever had a light bulb moment? I had a light bulb moment this week, and suddenly it was like, ah. Now suddenly, sometimes when the light comes on, you're like, oh dear, because it shows up a loads of things in you that aren't helpful. Light can also be great. It shows you a path and the way to go. But light is super helpful for us. He also said something else, this famous guy. He said, you are the light of the world. Had you ever thought that you were the light of the world? That maybe the state and condition of York is our responsibility. Maybe the state and condition of our family and our nation is our responsibility, which is good news, because that means that we can make the world a little bit more shing tonight. So this song is about participation as well. And there's a line that says, we are all the light of the world. And I would love you guys to sing it with me. We're going to get our kids up. We've even got glow sticks that we can wave in the air like we just care. So if you've got a light on your phone, join in. Let's get the cheesy moment happening tonight. Are you with me? Excellent. Once upon a Christmas night, a light came to the world. Just a fragile, flickering sight, a boy born to a girl. That little shining light he grew until the day that he just knew he was the light of the world. So on this Christmas night, we celebrate the lights and let the hearts ignite of every boy and girl. 'Cause darkness disappears when the light is here, and there's no need to fear, 'cause he is the light of the world. If you want to help me out, get your phones. Let's light up the place. Here upon this Christmas night, a light still wants to shine. Hey! Shake 'em up. Shine and set our hearts alight, igniting yours and mine. Spread out, guys, spread out. Now, every day our light can grow until the day the whole world shows that we are the light of the world. Stand with me, come on everybody. Now on this Christmas night, we celebrate the lights and let the hearts ignite of every boy and girl. 'Cause darkness disappears when the light is here. There's no need to fear, 'cause he is the light of the world. Come on, Stevie! Okay, this is where you help me. We are all the light of the world. Can you sing along with me? We are all the light of the world. Come on this side. We are all the light of the world. You can beat them, come on. We are all the light of the world. Let's have a beat, Kev. We are all the light of the world. Yeah, we are all the light of the world. Go, go, go! We are all the light of the world. this Christmas night. We celebrate the lights, and now let the hearts ignite of every boy and girl. 'Cause darkness disappears when the light is here, and there's no need to fear. What? Here's the light of the world. Sing along one more time. We are all the light of the world. Loud as you can. Yeah. We are all the light of the world. Last time. We are all the light of the world. Give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, off we come. Good afternoon and Merry Christmas to everyone. I hope you're all enjoying Christmas at our house. This afternoon's Christmas celebration is just one of many great initiatives that have their home at Q York. You can find out more about everything else that's going on by clicking What's On at qyork.co.uk. This afternoon's service is the final QChurch get-together of 2018, as there will be no service on Sunday the 30th of December. We'll be back on Sunday the 6th of January 2019 at 4 p.m, and the following Sunday, 13th of January, we'll be celebrating together our first Q York anniversary. If you like what you've heard this afternoon, then why not check out our YouTube channel, where you can watch back highlights from our QChurch get-togethers. Just go to youtube.com/QChurch York. If you're a guest with us this afternoon, then it's great to have you with us. If you'd like to stay in touch with what's going on here at QChurch, then you can subscribe to our free text messages by simply texting your full name to 07852 622 101. You'll also find a Welcome to Our House card on the pew in front of you, which you can fill in and hand into a steward. A big Christmas thank you goes out to everyone who has supported Q this year with their time, energy, and money to build a community where we can all take a journey of faith together. If you'd like to support Q today, then you can make a donation online. Just go to qyork.co.uk and click Donate, where you can give a one-off gift or set up a regular donation. If you'd like to give a cash or cheque gift tonight, then you can put them in the black and white envelopes in front of you, and we'll take a collection during the next song. Thanks for listening, everyone, and have a great Christmas.
It's written upon the sky, strong and wise, keeping the Lord as your guide. And through the doubt you realize He's with you all the while. Follow that star above you, should the world try to break it down. There is one who waits for you, though you can't see Him now. Thunder and rain surround you, but His love's just a breath away. If you follow your heart, follow the light, follow that star. Shining bright, the spirit of love at first sight. And when the door will welcome you, heaven will help you inside. Gathered round, bearing the gifts to the crown. A miracle comes, the baby's born, and angels are heard on high. Follow that star above you, should the world try to break it down. There is one who waits for you, though you can't see Him now. Thunder and rain surround you, but His love's just a breath away. If you follow your heart, follow the light, follow that star. Follow that voice you heard that no one else believed. Follow that dream that brought the gift of Christmas Eve. Oh, follow that star above you, should the world try to break it down. See, there is one who waits for you, though you can't see Him now. Thunder and rain surround you, but His love's just a breath away. If you follow the voice, follow the song, follow the word that makes you strong. Follow your heart, follow the light, follow that star.
Someday at Christmas, men won't be boys, playing with bombs like kids play with toys. One warm December, our hearts will see a world where men are free.
Someday at Christmas, there'll be no wars, where we have learned what Christmas is for, where we have found what life is truly worth, then there'll be peace on earth.
Someday all our dreams will come to be. Someday in a world where men are free. Maybe not in time for you and me, but someday at Christmas time.
Someday at Christmas, we'll see a land no
Just a little more than would be a month ago, 100 years before that marked the end of the First World War. This particular incident took place on Christmas of 1914, 4 years before the end of the war, when these guys caught something of the spirit of Christmas and what should happen between human beings. And that little film was made to reflect on and commemorate these guys meeting there in no man's land on the battlefields in Belgium. The following day, the guns fired up again. And by the end of 1918, 16 million people had lost their lives. Mostly young men in the prime of their youth, German, Belgium, French, British lads, 16 million. The great bulk of those deaths occurred after this event on Christmas Eve of 1914. Up to that point, there had been about 700,000 deaths. This is not including wounded and injured. And you wonder, well, if they met in that middle ground and if they shook hands, if they played football together, if they had that peace, how come that following that, another 15 million lives would be lost? It all comes down to our lack of understanding of what peace truly is. You see, for most of us, we think that peace is the absence of conflict. We think that peace is agreeing not to fight. But you see, they agreed not to fight, and there was absence of conflict on New Year's Eve, on Christmas Eve of 1914 and Christmas Day, and yet it all kicked off again straight after Christmas, much like it will be with some of you. Much like what's going to happen in your family if you make it through Christmas Day. Do you know what the number one prayer request when people start to reflect on Christmas and the whole thing touches them and some kind of spirituality emerges? And we've proved this by, in last year, particularly in what was the Micklegate Mingle, where the shops and the churches in Micklegate had a Christmas celebration, and we had a prayer request board, and the most prominent prayer on there, and this is the most prominent prayer in all churches and all requests throughout the whole of the country at Christmas, is, please will you pray that my family will get along. Please will you pray that we won't finish up fighting. That's the number one prayer. And there's a lesson in there because we can go from this just agreeing not to fight to killing each other in so many ways, in so many aspects of our life, so quickly, for one simple reason, that we have not understood the essence of what peace really is. Agreeing not to fight is not peace. In fact, we use a phrase often that says we agree to disagree. That never brings peace either. Because agreeing not to fight is not what peace is. Peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of something, not the absence of something. Here's how a guy called Luke wrote it up in the Bible almost 2,000 years ago. You can find it in Luke chapter 2 and verse 14. When he tries to describe the issue of the visitation, the angels, he said, and they said, glory to God in the highest, and on earth peace and goodwill towards men. You see, peace is not the absence of conflict. Peace is the presence of goodwill. And if all you've got on your heart for yourself, for your family, for the world this Christmas is somehow, well, it's Christmas time, we agree not to fight, we'll get rid of the conflict, you will not know what true peace is that lasts and changes the world. If only instead of there being on December the 24th, 1914, instead of there being just an agreement not to fight and to stop the conflict, if only there had been a feeling of goodwill, that we show goodwill, maybe 15 million more people wouldn't have died. And there'd have been 15 million more lives that were changed, and 15 million more families, 15 million more stories, if we just understood that peace is not the absence of conflict, but peace is the presence of goodwill. I believe if there's an essence to the Christmas story that's powerful for all of us, it's peace and goodwill to all men. That the message of Christmas is not that there will never be problems, there will never be issues, there will never be falling out, but the issue of Christmas is that in the middle of this thing that we call life, if we will take hold of this gift of peace and goodwill to all men, then something will change. I believe that's what the story of the manger is about, peace and goodwill to all men. But if Christmas is going to be anything, it's your receiving of that and saying, in the light of that and because of that, I'm going to show goodwill to all men, not just on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, but in all of my life, to all people, blessing, helping, and serving. You see, goodwill is the will for good. Goodwill's not something you buy at Debenhams or you get from Amazon on the internet that comes by Prime the following morning. You can't order it online. You can't buy it in a store. It has to come from the will. It's the will for good. And how many of you realize if there was deep within us a willingness to leave our pettinesses, our warrings, the things that turn from a little disruption between us and others into a war where we want to kill and maim and damage, if we would take our will and decide that we are going to show goodness, then that's when war ends. That's when the fighting stops. That's when we begin to be at peace. And that's when this thing called glory, presence, essence, light, life begins to surround us. So the message to you tonight is simple. Peace does not come from agreeing not to fight. Peace does not come from the absence of conflict. Peace comes in the presence of goodwill. Let in your heart tonight it be peace and goodwill to all men.